Today's episode of Recovery Survey is fueled by Brainwash Coffee Company. I'm sure you've heard that drug and alcohol use is on the rise, especially during the pandemic, and Brainwash Coffee Company is working to raise money and awareness to support people seeking help. They donate 50% of their profits, and their mission is to give back to the amazing recovery community. Their why is bold and their coffee is fresh, so if you want to sip on an amazing brew that warms your mind, body, and soul, then visit brainwashcoffeeco.com and use promo code RECOVERYSURVEY at checkout to get $5 off your first order. Brainwash Coffee Company. Simple coffee for complicated people. You're listening to Recovery Survey, the podcast that shatters stigmas around different types of addictions and takes a deep dive into spiritual principles.
So there was a long time, a lot of years of starts and stops of trying to get sober. I still was able to have jobs and be successful and have relationships, and really not very many people in my life knew this struggle, which allowed me to also not know, like kind of lie to myself about it for a long time that, this is okay. This is normal. If I surround myself with other people who are doing the same thing, it's okay.
My guest today is named Liz McKean. She is a yoga teacher and the National Virtual Program Manager at the Phoenix. Welcome to the show, Liz.
All right. Well, hi. My name is Liz McKean. I am a person in recovery. I live in Tampa, Florida. I'm actually from Western New York, so came down here to escape the cold weather. And I am just excited to be here. Sharing about my recovery is something that is relatively new to me within the past year. And it's amazing how it gets just a little easier every time. And it's really an honor to be able to talk about recovery. It's an honor to be able to talk about the Phoenix, which I know we're going to go into, which is a big part of my recovery and actually where I work now. And I just always feel like it's such an honor to be able to share this kind of thing with folks, because these are the, podcasts and books and just people being open is really what got me sober. So it's like to be here.
Yeah, so glad to have you here. And like we talked about before, you were on the live stream on Facebook, so we've already kind of had this conversation a little bit before, so we know each other, and so I feel like we kind of hit it off, and so that's part of the reason I wanted to have you on this other show, because I loved your message and loved what you had to say. So welcome to Recovery Survey. So glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here. Excited to be able to do this again. So fun to see you again.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to actually look at the camera, even though it's an audio only podcast like we talked about. I'm still figuring out the whole live stream thing, and glad to have people that are gracious enough to come on as we're learning and experimenting and figuring things out.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. I feel like it's more comfortable that way too, when we're all just kind of like doing the best we can. It's the world we live in now, is figuring out new ways of doing things, new tech all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, for the listeners that aren't following both podcasts, that don't know you, would you mind sharing your story with us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And it's funny, it comes out different every time. So I feel like I'm trying to remember how I described it on your other show, and I'm sure it's going to sound different because there's just so many little tiny parts of it that I kind of love just going with the flow. So I actually am a person who didn't even drink until I was in college. Actually, I was like a really good kid, high achiever, good grades on all the sports teams and president of all the clubs and all those things. And then I got to college, and I had always struggled with anxiety and panic disorder. Those were a big part of my entire childhood, even before I had language for it. I was the kid that was like up all night, just worried about whatever, whether it was somebody breaking into my house or some, the test that I had the next day. It was just always something to be really scared about. And I didn't really understand what that was about. And when I got to college and the first time I did drink, like I remember just crystal clear, that feeling of like, I found it, like, this is the thing, like, this is, I feel I'm better. This is how it, like, life is supposed to be. This is how I'm supposed to feel. And I don't ever want to not feel this way, which is, a pretty big red flag. But I continued, still was able to be very high functioning, made it through college, did well. Just was kind of a party girl, really enjoyed going out and allowed that to just become part of my identity that I was even a little bit proud of. And as I got into adulthood and the friends around me did less of that, like went into careers and everything and weren't so much still going with the party, I still held on to that as a big part of my identity and existence, and just like the thing that I did for fun. And for a while it was really fun. I actually, there's a lot of good memories there, but pretty quickly it turned into something that kind of turned against me. I think like for a lot of us, there was suddenly started being less good times and more just like medicating, like the anxiety that I had always suffered from got a lot worse. So the thing that was helping me with it really started to make it more intense, both just like as a physical thing. I mean, anxiety, that's like a real thing that, a hangover is much more than a headache. It's also that just crippling fear and the shaking and all those things just started to be part of my everyday life. So at any moment I was either, drunk or hungover or, and always anxious and just always trying to chase down that initial feeling of like, like everything's going to be better, just chasing it. So there was a long time, a lot of years of starts and stops of trying to get sober. I still was able to have jobs and be successful and have relationships, and really not very many people in my life knew this struggle, which allowed me to also not know, like kind of lie to myself about it for a long time that, this is okay. This is normal. If I surround myself with other people who are doing the same thing, it's okay. And then there started being some consequences where, it would affect my relationships, it would affect my jobs and just little cracks in that facade that I had built so carefully over the years. But I still hung on to it. It's still, this is the thing that I need, that I love, that I, is going to allows me to survive in this world. I don't know how to do this life without this. And I was kind of resigned to that. And the consequences got worse, the bottoms got deeper. And so finally it got very clear that it was, I'm going to die or end up in jail if this continues. So I had a few different attempts at getting sober and stints here and there. I'd have like 9 months, 10 months, a year here and there, but get to that point where it's like, well, I've been sober for a while. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like mentally healthy. Like my relationships are healed. I've getting my life back together. Like I'm normal now. So I should probably drink again. And then it would just clearly be not the case. Quickly, things would get worse than they even were the previous time. But it still wasn't until I wanted to. It wasn't until like I was never able to get to that point where being sober was like a light. It was always like, okay, at some point I'm going to have to give this up. At some point I'm going to have to leave the party, and then life is just going to be sad and miserable. And I'm going to just have to just clench my fists and try so hard not to drink for the rest of my life. I had stints in 12-step. Like I'm grateful that 12-step is there, because there were definitely times that I needed somewhere to go. And that's, there's meetings always everywhere. So that's an incredible community, incredible resource and tool, but it still never really fit for me. And it just, everything for me felt like a punishment. Everything felt like punitive. Like I'm a bad person. I'm doing this bad thing. And, I'm the problem. And I just, everything, it was all just very, very negative. And then I found yoga. And when I started doing yoga more regularly, I had started having these like moments on the yoga mat where this little bit of light would come through, where I would realize, like during the times that I was able to be sober, I like was able to kind of get that feeling, kind of like that, almost that first drink feeling where it was just like, everything's okay. Like I'm okay. And I'm worth being okay. Like I actually might deserve to have this happy feeling, and just like little glimpses of it. And I would realize that, the times that I would not be sober, I, wouldn't be able to get there, so it was just like this little taste of another way to feel good. And this little taste of just kind of maybe even liking myself, or maybe thinking that maybe I deserved to be happy, that I got more and more. So the more I did yoga, the more I got those little cracks of light coming in, the closer I got to the point that I could feel like this actually might be something I can do. This might actually be something that I want to do. And right around that time, I had found the Phoenix. So the Phoenix is a sober active community. We're actually a national nonprofit, although really starting to become international, which is pretty exciting. But for me, when I was just, trying desperately to save my own life, it was something I saw on Instagram. Somebody was going to these CrossFit classes and they were free, and it was for people who were in recovery. And the only cost to attend was to be sober for 48 hours. And I was like, well, I can do that. And that sounds scary. So let me think about it and worry about it for a little while. So I did. But the thing that kept bringing me back to like those pictures and those videos on this one woman who was posting them, was that it was just like this group of people that just looked really like happy and normal and like high-fiving and smiling, and just like they seemed really like pumped to be there. It wasn't a punishment. It wasn't like, people weren't hanging their heads. They were wearing shirts that said sober, and they were posting that online. I wouldn't even follow an Instagram account that had the word sober in it because I was so mortified by the thought that people might know this horrible, shameful secret that was becoming less and less of a secret by the day. So I just like wanted that, so I went to that class. And I think I said this on your show before, but that we always say that door, the heaviest door you'll ever open is the one to that gym, that first Phoenix gym that you walk into. And it's true. It's scary, to go into something new in any scenario. It doesn't even have to have anything to do with recovery or, CrossFit. And it was, but then I was blown away at how easy it got after that, because nothing about this had been easy. Nothing about trying to find recovery had been easy. For me, everything was hard. Everything was full of shame. Everything was just like this pit in my stomach that would spread to my whole body. So I walked in that door. It was hard. It was scary. And then as soon as I got in there, it was easy. Like everybody was just happy and like pumped to be there, pumped to be sober, pumped that I was there, and it was like this incredibly welcoming group of people that, we were all there because of recovery, because, we had this kind of shared experience in some way, but we were really there to like work out and be together and just have community. So I don't even remember what the workout was, but I remember for once feeling like I'm here and able to enjoy myself. I'm able to be here and like be my full self, because even in moments, even when I was on that yoga mat at the yoga studio down the street, I still was holding on to this like shame. I was still like holding on to this part of myself that was just like, I will never let this out. No one can know about this. I have to fix it, but it's just gotta be under wraps. And I got there and it was like, we could even joke about it. And it was the first time I'd been able to be my full self and feel like that was worth anything. And so I kept going to Phoenix events and classes, and just kept feeling more and more proud of the fact that I was able to be there. It was like the thing that the thing that I was like the most ashamed of was suddenly my ticket to that party. I thought the party was over. Here's a whole new party that I didn't even know how much I wanted to be there. And I was. And then I started volunteering. I started teaching yoga at the Phoenix, which was just like, the honor of my life to like take this thing that I found, that found me, that allowed me to, get to the point that I could, survive and like myself, and then to be able to share that with other people. It was just everything to me. So that was the thing I think that made it stick. Like, I think I was on the path. I was trying. It was really a lot of years that I was trying, but it wasn't until I found the Phoenix that I really wanted to be sober, that I was proud of being in recovery, that I could have a conversation like this and say like, yeah, that happened to me. These are some things that I did. And like, I pulled myself out of it, and I'm so grateful that it all happened, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And because of the Phoenix and because of recovery, I'm also able to turn around and, reach out a hand to other people who are in that same, still in that pit, still in that life that feels like you can't ever get out and you're not even sure you want to. So yeah, and now here I am.
That's an incredible story, and I love hearing people tell their stories again. I go through the same thing where I'll hear myself tell my story, and I feel like different details come out each time, and sometimes I worry. I'm like, I hope people don't listen to me share my story multiple times and think that I'm like changing my story or whatever. But it's like, different details just kind of like come to the surface as we share over and over and over again. And I love that about just the whole recovery journey. I'd be curious to know, you talked about, using 12-step meetings and not really, I'm trying to remember exactly how you phrased it, but like not really jiving with the 12 steps, at least in the beginning, but you knew that there was something important there. And then you found the Phoenix. So in that time, were you still going to 12-step meetings, or had you kind of gone through a period where you weren't really doing meetings, and then you found the Phoenix, and then the Phoenix brought you back to meetings? Or what did that whole transition there look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Honestly, the timeline for me is a little fuzzy within that like year that I finally got sober, for a lot of reasons, probably some physical reasons. But I don't think I was going to 12-step at the time that I found Phoenix. I had gone regularly during, usually after some big, having burned down my life or whatever, and deciding to recommit, going every single day. I think I had stepped away from that. I'd been sober for some time. It was probably a few months, but for me, that was really a lot of time. And I was going to yoga regularly. So that was really the thing that was kind of keeping my head above water, but it still was just keeping my head above water. So I don't think I wasn't going to 12-step when I found the Phoenix. And I have been since in the past few years, but only to like support friends. It's not my path to recovery. The thing that I love, I think the thing that is most precious to me about the Phoenix community is that we support all pathways to recovery. So there are plenty of people, a lot of people that are part of the Phoenix community who are 12-step folks that, for sometimes some for decades. And, it's a huge, worldwide, it's just something that like gets people sober every day. So again, I would never want to say anything bad about 12-step, because I know that it saved so many people that I love dearly. So I'm so glad it's there. It just wasn't my path. It just wasn't the thing that stuck. I am very, I do well with positive reinforcement, I guess, to just sound like a child. And I was just looking for that thing where somebody was going to give me a high five and somebody was going to tell me I'm doing a great job. And I think that does happen in 12-step rooms for sure. But in the Phoenix, it was just like in the gym, or in the, in that physical kind of scenario where it's just like that excitement was what made me feel like I needed to be really convinced that there was going to be joy on the other side of this. And that's certainly present there. But just for me, it wasn't the thing that sparked joy. So yeah, just to answer your question, probably very badly. No, it did not bring me back to meetings. I'm not a person who goes to meetings, but that is something that is very supported at the Phoenix. I always say whenever I instruct a class that we support all pathways. So whatever it is that you're doing that is working for you, like keep doing it. We're just really grateful to be part of your journey in any way. We're just your biggest cheerleaders. And for some people, Phoenix is their whole recovery community. For a lot, it's a supplement. And that's the cool thing about it too, is that it's really different for every single person. It's a peer-to-peer organization. So it's not like, I'm going to tell you how to get sober. I'm just going to be here and be your friend and, be excited that you're here and cheer you on. And it doesn't even have to be a CrossFit class. Like I talk about a lot of high-fiving is a big deal for me. I guess I talk about it a lot, but there's also, people go to meditations. I actually manage the national virtual program for the Phoenix, and we have classes happening all day, every day on Zoom that you can go to, camera on or off. You can have your Phoenix experience in the quiet of your living room if you want to. And there's everything from fitness to yoga to meditation to dance to poetry club to, we have a role playing, like a Dungeons and Dragons type game now. We have a sober moms club. So just really we used to be very fitness driven, but now it's really like whatever event, whatever class is going to be meaningful to a person enough that they're willing to come and lead it. And that will help community together, because the event is really just the vehicle that gets us to the community. And, we're probably between 70 and 80,000 strong now across the country. And there's people that are coming. There's in-person locations. We on our website, we have an app. You can go and look and see if there's events that are happening in person near you. Again, there's things online every single day, and we're just growing. And the way we're doing that is just by, somebody that listens to this podcast is going to go and check out the website and decide to volunteer and start programming up in their area, and just have the support of all these people behind them, and everything's free. It's one of those things that it sounds too good to be true, and it's really that good.
Yeah. And I totally love just the whole concept of it, the community, having activities to do, because I too fell into that mindset of, if I stop drinking and doing drugs, because that's, currently that's my entire life, like my entire life revolves around that. And, my perception is people that don't do drugs or don't get drunk are really boring. So in my mind, it's like, if I put this down, my life's going to become really boring. And, I can say now, looking back at it with, almost 7 years, like, my life is anything but boring. But right. In that moment, it was like, what am I going to do? Like, that sounds terrible, and here there's all these different events, all these different things, all these different groups and clubs. And there's just there's so many things for us to do, whether we decide to plug into something like the Phoenix, or we go a different route and, get like a gym membership at the YMCA or something. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the sober recovery community, but once we put those vices down, like, our world really does open up. Like, I don't know why I had that mindset that my life was going to be boring, because I was really forcing myself to stay in this really small box. And then once I got clean, is like, oh, I can do anything I want. Like, I don't know why I thought it would be the opposite of, like, this is, thinking my tiny box was freedom, when it really wasn't. I was in like this self-made prison, and now it's like, I can do whatever I want to do. I can pursue whatever I'm passionate about. Like, the sky is the limit. Like, I can do anything. And I love that about recovery. And if there's anybody that's listening that's in that place that thinks like, man, getting sober, getting clean is going to be boring, like, it absolutely isn't. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. And here is a fantastic resource if you're looking to connect and find that community and find activities that are available in your area. Or if there aren't, like Liz said, start one. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah. Start or one. Hop online, join the community online. We have a really just super supportive community from all over the world that's online every day. And for a lot of people, that's their Phoenix, and that's amazing. And I agree with you so wholeheartedly. Like, it's the devil, so it's like, even if things are pretty crappy, like in that moment where you're just like sitting, for me, it was a lot of like sitting home alone towards the end drinking. Like, that's anything else is scary, because I don't know what that's like. This is my tool. Like, this is the thing this is my coping tool. This is my best friend. This is the love of my life, this thing. So it really is, it's like an unhealthy relationship that it's scary to disconnect from, because it's all you know. And freedom is the perfect thing, the perfect word. Like, I love that you said that, because that's always been every year for New Year's, I don't like to do resolutions. I like to find a word that, it's very like, I don't know, kind of a yoga thing, I guess, like finding an intention. And I feel like I like to really distill an intention down to a word, because that can just kind of be my anchor, like as I'm moving through the year and like deciding like which direction to go, it's like coming back to that anchor. It's like, okay, will that get me closer or farther from that? And kind of having it be, just something that holds me steady. But I think that addiction is promising you freedom, and it's actually stealing that from you. It's stealing everything from you. It's lying to you. And it is once you're able to like peek through that and like just poke your head out from between those bars, then you can see that there's freedom on the other side. And that's honestly the thing that made a difference for me. Like when I realized that I actually was free to choose to not drink anymore, that's when it changed. Because it used to feel like I was giving up a freedom. It felt like this was going to be taken away from me. Like if I admitted I had a problem, then somebody was going to come and take this from me, and I couldn't have it anymore, and I needed it. And then I was losing control. I was giving up, a freedom. And then when I came to the realization that actually I'm a grown adult. Like if I wanted to get off this podcast and drink something, I could, but I have the freedom to choose not to, and to know that that's what's going to bring me joy in this world. And that's also what's going to like open up 1,000 other doors that I can choose from, just like the buffet of life is open to me. And if I did pick up that bottle, I would be locking all those doors. And I'd have the key right in my hand, but I wouldn't be able to get out of them. So it's all about freedom.
Well, we're kind of getting towards the end of the time. So if you wouldn't mind, for the listeners that maybe aren't familiar with the Phoenix, could you tell us a little bit more about how we could get connected, what the website is, the app, social media accounts, anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the website is thephoenix.org. Phoenix is spelled with an O before the E. I do that. I mess it up every single time. So if you are struggling, you might flip those. So thephoenix.org, you can go there and you can see our class schedules for our live streaming events. You can go and like click the little globe that will allow the system to know where you are and tell you if there's classes near you. We also have special events. Sometimes we have guest speakers come on our virtual program, or we have like a virtual turkey trot happening. We also have on-demand classes, like you could just do a yoga class on your own time that's instructed by a Phoenix person. So website really has a lot of things. It's also like our volunteer portal, careers, things like that. So website is a great place to start. Our app is just the cat's pajamas. Let me tell you, it is super cool. It is new. You just look for the Phoenix app in your app store, and you can register for classes there. There's a community on there. You can join like groups based on interest, based on location. You can connect with people one-to-one. I think that's huge, because a lot of times early sobriety, or, when you're trying to find sobriety, you are feeling pretty stuck, pretty alone. And when you have that community in your pocket, I think that's incredibly powerful. So grab the app. It's only going to get better. And social media, Instagram, we are at Rise, Recover, Live. That's our tagline, Rise, Recover, Live. So any one of those you can go to, and you can find everything else from there. But plug in, just get started by showing up. The best way to support the Phoenix is by showing up. Like everything is free for folks, but by having you come to something, we can show that there's impact there, and that's the way we're able to grow. We have generous donors that support us. You can make a donation if you want to, but again, really just showing up, just telling your family and friends, like being part of the community is just the best way to support. And there's gonna be a Phoenix for everybody, because it's just, I know we're wrapping up, even if you're not a person in recovery, everyone is welcome. That 48 hours of sobriety is the only cost, and that's for folks not in recovery as well, just to keep everybody safe. But that's how we break down stigma, is by bringing together both folks that are in recovery and not. And honestly, we like to say that Phoenix is for everyone impacted by substance use, which, you don't have to have a diagnosis for that. You got a friend or family member, or just kind of like thinking maybe this isn't serving me anymore. Like, give it a try. It's there's everyone is welcome, open arms.
Awesome. Well, Liz, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing part of your story and letting us know about the Phoenix and all the different services they offer. I know that a lot of people are gonna get something out of today's episode, and hopefully somebody hears something that they needed to hear, or is introduced to the Phoenix, and now they can get plugged into a sober community and find those activities and those relationships that they've been looking for. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing with us.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. What an honor. And honestly, it's just fun to be able to hang out with you again. So I'm really, really grateful that you invited me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Liz, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your story with us and letting us know about all the services the Phoenix offers. Guys, I would encourage you to either go to the website or download the app and check out all the awesome activities that are going on in your area. The links for those will be in the show notes. You've been listening to Recovery Survey. If you got anything out of today's episode, I'd ask you to please leave us a 5-star review and share this episode with a friend. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can find us at recoverysurvey.com. You can listen to all of our episodes on the website, as well as connect with us on social media, where you can get previews for upcoming episodes.